Start your engines. The Syracuse Nationals rolls into Syracuse, New York, July 18th through the 20th for its 25th anniversary. Experience the largest car show in the Northeast with over 7,000 vehicles. It's 3 days of hot rods, classic cars, live entertainment, and family fun. Mark your calendars and make the Syracuse Nationals part of your summer plans. Buy your tickets, register your ride, and get all the details at SyracuseNationals.com. Syracuse Nationals. It's worth the drive.
Fran Brown this, Fran Brown that.
You know, winners get washed.
If I say one negative thing about Adrian Autry, the show ends and we just go to break.
If you want me to take a lie detector, Brian, I'll take it.
I don't like peanut butter.
Anybody that thinks this is going to come back is either naive or plain stupid.
All across CNY.
My name's on this show every freaking day.
It's the 315.
Hardy faking, feeds the Grace Jameson. He
scores! He scores! Woo! Here's Brian Higgins.
Oh, welcome in Wednesday. What a beautiful day it is here on this Wednesday, all across CNY. About a third of the way here through June, working our way toward the height of summer here before too long. But welcome in here, Q's, Utica, Rome. What's up, Rome? How we doing on this fine Wednesday? Q Sports Talk, QSportsTalk.com. Q Sports Talk on the Twitch, Q Sports Talk on the YouTube, the chat, the chat, always up to something in the chat. Come and join us, come hang out for the next 2 hours together. Today, what do we got on the old docket here today? Coming up next hour, we will get you a preview of the United States Open Golf Championship with our guy Greg Ducharme, who provides insight both for CBS's golf website and for the thriving Second Cut podcast. Greg will join us next hour. We'll get you some picks for the Open. What's going on with Scotty? What's going on with Bryson? What's going on with Rory? If one of those guys doesn't win, then who? What's going on with the rest of them? What's going on with that rough? Who's going to lose a ball that just in grass, just in like standard thick lawn? It's gone. It's gone. Where'd it go? I don't know. It's gone. Where'd you hit it? I missed the fairway by a foot. It's gone forever. The ball is gone. U.S. Open starts tomorrow. We will be watching along. They'll be playing. They'll be outside Pittsburgh at Oakmont, and we'll be getting into that over the course of the weekend. What else do we got going on today? I got an email that was very exciting. I thought we were going to get basketball games. I was fooled by an email. Subject line. Didn't get anything. We'll tell you about that coming up later. Fran Brown Countdown continues. We get closer and closer to commitment day for the top-ranked prospect in the state of New York. It turns out in quite some time we've done a little research on the life and times of one Messiah Hampton, and more importantly, going back into the history vault. So we've got that all going on throughout our time together today, as well as the phone lines. They be open, 315-437-7644 for ESPN 44. You know the number. Call it early, call it often. And the first return lawsuit after the House versus NCAA settlement. Man, we didn't wait long. Settlement was Friday. We got a lawyer on these airwaves on Tuesday to talk about, when is there going to be lawsuits? What's going to get sued about? Our guy Dan Green was with us yesterday. And then this morning, Wednesday, friend of the show, Amanda Kristovich, is reporting about lawsuits. So we'll tell you about that. Everybody loves litigious action in early June in relation to college sports. So we'll tell you all about that as we roll along throughout our 2 hours together today. With that, let's get going.
We start with the Burdick BMW opening drive.
And let's start with, we got, news is breaking. There's breaking news. Breaking radio station news. Folks, we have breaking news. You are now, at the moment, listening to an award-winning broadcast We have breaking news. Breaking news. Wait, we got to... wait. Ooh, that had a bit of a flourish. That was louder than I was expecting. The New York State Broadcaster Association Awards were announced earlier today. And, we have won things. Wear it, other people who didn't win things. Wear it. You're supposed to win graciously? Gracefully? Yeah. Screw that. What have we won for? We have won for the most ridiculous list of things that one could have won for. We have our hands in not one, not two, but 3 awards this year. And it is the most ridiculous collection of things that ever did exist. You know, we have a new set of them out now, and you guys have been begging us for them. You have been begging us for a new set of these. We have a new set of Pawn Pro commercials that have been unveiled on to the airwaves here recently. Guess what? The ones that we drove you out of your skull with last year with me and Paulie and announcer Rick DiIulio, and carefully edited by our head production man, Rick DiIulio. We won the award. We won the New York State Broadcasters Association Award for mid-sized market commercial of the year. So, yeah, if you thought we were driving you bonkers, no, we were tickling your ears with award-winning content. Go to Pawn Pro. We got that. Got that going on. Do we have actual breaking news coming up? We'll give you that in a second. Actual breaking news potentially in a second. What else did we win for? We've won the award here on this program, the 315 with me, Brian Higgins, for best interview. Which interview, you might ask? We've done lots of them, quite literally hundreds upon hundreds of interviews. Was it with Kyle McCord? Was it with Don McPherson? Was it with any of our great guests that we've had over the last year? No, we won the award for best interview. Do you remember it was 13, 14 months ago, because this thing goes from like March to March is the time period these things are open for. About 13, 14 months ago, we got a call from our guy Vito. He was unhappy with something about Jim Boeheim, yada, yada, yada. Jim Boeheim was listening, called in to yell at me. It's in the open about the lie detector. Yeah. We turned it around. We flipped the script a little bit and chatted with Jim for like 20 minutes. Yeah, Jim Boeheim calling to yell at us. Best interview. I don't know what the judges were doing this year, but the more crackpot the thing you submitted, I think the better chance you had for winning. Because the third thing we won for, and we had a lot of viewers that night. I know you all were there. You were hanging out on Q Sports Talk. You were in Q Sports Talk on the Twitch and the YouTube. We won an award for best live local coverage with radio and social media for Q Sports Talk for our post-game show of Syracuse getting absolutely just slapped off the basketball court by Duke. Now, we all know how our post-game shows work. They're fun when they win. They are unhinged and delirious when they lose. They are beyond the bounds of normal society when they get smoked. On this postgame show that we won an award for, it was me losing my mind because one of y'all out there was preaching the gospel of Adam Weitzman, and Jordan called in to complain about pulled pork surge pricing. Award-winning pulled pork surge pricing. So, thank you, judges. I don't know how you're coming to the conclusion of who wins these things, but we won awards for losing our minds about Pawn Pro, Jim Boeheim, and Adam Weitzman. Award-winning stuff. And it was participatory because the reason we lost our minds is because of all of you. Yes. Had Vito not called to upset Jim Boeheim, he wouldn't have called to yell at me. So we love our callers and our listeners. Had somebody in the chat, I don't even remember who it was, not said nutball insane things about Adam Weitzman, I wouldn't have lost my mind after a 30-point game at 11 o'clock or whatever it was on a Wednesday night. Wouldn't be award-winning. This is Sports Talk Radio, folks. It's participatory. Without you guys, we don't get to lose our minds over the insanity of it all, and thus we can't win fancy trophies for it. The fancy trophies will be added to the studio space come September, I believe, is the award luncheon. I'm told by the chat the guy that set me off on Weitzman never came back. I don't remember who it was. Not a regular, but thank you. Whomever you are, wherever you are, thank you for your participation in our fine yet ridiculous product. So, do we do this for the awards? No, but it's nice to get them, and it's nice to share them with all of you. Because without you putting up with our nonsense, and frankly, us putting up with your nonsense, we couldn't marry them together into the fine whatever the hell we're doing here between the hours of noon and 6 and between the hours of after basketball games and late night after football games. We couldn't do it without all of you. So, cool stuff for us earlier today. We got to... we got to brag a little when we can, and when not much is going on in the month of June. Now's a good time. Ooh, that horn didn't have as much pomp as I thought it was going to be. What about this one? That one feels better. That one feels better. Oh, thank you. Now we actually have something. Actual breaking news. News that I'd already set up a segment today that it wasn't happening because the ACC fooled me earlier today with an email announcing game times for ACC-SEC games. The games they announced were football games. Were Florida and Florida State and Clemson, South Carolina. I say, who cares? I don't care. That's great. Great. I don't care about a football game Syracuse isn't involved in on November 29th. John Rothstein, though. News. Just now on the Twitter machine, news, all capital letters, : matchups are set for the 2025 ACC-SEC Challenge per sources. What do we got? Florida at Duke. Didn't I predict that one? Yeah, that was the easiest thing to predict of all time. North Carolina at Kentucky. Virginia at Texas. NC State at Auburn. Clemson at Alabama. Louisville at Arkansas. Louisville versus Coach Cal. I see what they did there. Oklahoma at Wake Forest. SMU at Vanderbilt. Texas A&M at Pittsburgh. Mississippi State at Georgia Tech. Miami at Ole Miss. LSU at Boston College. Virginia Tech at South Carolina. Missouri at Notre Dame. Georgia at Florida State. And they could have gotten more creative with this. I swear they could have. In the same game that Syracuse played last year, but in a different building, Tennessee will be up in the Dome this year to visit Syracuse. So Tennessee at Syracuse is your ACC-SEC Challenge matchup per John Rothstein. Per John Rothstein's sources. So the ACC-SEC matchup officially comes out on a day they tried to hoodwink us with 2 ACC-SEC football games. Like, what is that all about? Tennessee at Syracuse. The dates aren't here. It's got to be the same week it always is. It's the Tuesday, Wednesday right after Thanksgiving. So, man, oh man. Syracuse is going to play 3 good teams out in Vegas. We don't know who they are yet. We're expecting to hear what the matchups for that are going to be end of June. That's our current expectations on that. We now know our first actual non-conference matchup of the year, and it's Syracuse against Tennessee. Now, has Tennessee lost some from last year? Yes. So they're also they're returning their point. Are they returning their point guard, or is he just trying to scrape another year out of something? I forget what was going on there. That guy was good. I think he's trying to make up another year out of nothing. I don't exactly. I feel Tennessee lost a lot from last year, but they've been consistently one of the best teams in the country over the course of the last 5-6 years under Rick Barnes. They haven't punched through to the Final Four, but they have been one of the best teams in the country. And we have played them a lot recently. They played them. Did they play them in Hawaii a couple years ago? They played them last year in the ACC-SEC. They'll play them again this year. It's a lot of games against Tennessee. Zakai Ziegler. That's who I was trying to think about, the point guard. I think he's technically out of eligibility, but he, petitioning, suing. Everybody's suing. Just toss a lawsuit in there. Syracuse, Tennessee, basketball history. This news literally broke right after the show started from John Rothstein. All-time history, Syracuse and Tennessee. The Orange have won 3 and lost 5. This will now extremely randomly be the 3rd straight season that Syracuse and Tennessee have played. Here's the thing about that. It's, not gone well. They played in Honolulu at at the Maui tournament a couple years ago. Remember, it was in Honolulu because of the fires out there. Syracuse lost that game 73-56. That game was close for 30-ish minutes and then got loose down the stretch. The game in Knoxville last year was close for 0-ish minutes. Remember, that was the day we learned, or we might have learned the night before, that J.J. Starling was out with a broken hand. Syracuse just got absolutely worked down in Knoxville last year by a really, really good Tennessee team. They ended up being, a 2 seed in the tournament last year? Final score of that game was 96-70 as Syracuse got just absolutely drilled down in Knoxville last year. All right, we'll say this. On the face of it, tough game. Though, way far out. Haven't studied Tennessee's roster for, I don't know, anything beyond 0.1 second since the end of last year, save for Zakai Ziegler trying to get another year of eligibility. Their tiny but really talented point guard. Man, was he good. And they've had a bunch of guys go through there over the last few years. Dalton Connect a couple of years ago. They've had some dudes. But let's paint a positive picture for a second. Let's try this out. Here, we'll try this out for a second. We'll try to go positive tilt right now, other than, oh, God, Tennessee. This has a chance to be, if it's going to be a good Syracuse season, it has a chance to be a signature win. You've got them on your home court. You know, Tennessee's probably going to be highly regarded, I would think, but maybe not as good as they have been just because they've lost a lot. I don't know. We're spitballing here. Like, this could be, the all-time most positive situation of this. Remember when Syracuse beat North Carolina back in, November of 2009 when it was the Wes Johnson team? It was like, oh, my God, North Carolina. Carolina was coming off a natty. Syracuse, we didn't know what they were going to be. The Orange came out and handled them pretty well early in the season. It's like, whoa. And then obviously that turned out to be, they were the best team in the country until Lorenzo got hurt that year. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but what you have here is an opportunity to beat a team on your home court who is very well respected. You can really raise the profile of your team if you can pull off a win on that day. That said, very challenging game for Syracuse in the Dome coming up in the ACC SEC Challenge this year. We'll get more into that later as we wrap up our Burdick BMW opening drive here today. And with that, let's get a check of the old markets today. And with that, we'll bring on Lee Baldwin himself. Hey, Lee, how'd things go on this Wednesday for you?
Hey, Brian. Not bad. Look at the day. The stock markets did close slightly lower, though, but that's following gains on Monday and Tuesday, so we're still up for the week, I think. Our diamond today goes to Starbucks, up 4%. That's on the news. They will be using AI to help them keep track of their 18,000 stores in the U.S. alone. And our dog is pet supplier Chewy, which fell a doggish 11% on lower revenues, so it was a rough session for Chewy, Brian.
All right. And a Venti AI will order all of that for all of us, Lee. Thank you, as always, with our midweek check of the markets on this beautiful Wednesday outside. There he is, Lee Baldwin himself. All of the diamonds, none of the dogs. More information always available at leebaldwin.com. All right, phone lines open rest of the hour. We got Greg Ducharme talking golf about an hour from now to preview the U.S. Open. Your thoughts, ACC, SEC Challenge. We got our first lawsuit after the House settlement, which, shocking, a lawsuit. Woo! So we'll get into that as we go along here as well. And the phone line's open, 315-437-7644. Back after this, on it's an award-winning Wednesday. It's Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. Is that where he's from, Super Kit? Okay. Aaron Neesmith. Where did he go to college? Aaron Neesmith. Right state, wrong team, Super Cat. Vanderbilt. Yes, Ellie Orange. Tennessee, 3 in Vegas, no Georgetown, and that is all we officially know. I would presume Cornell Colgate, probably Lemoyne. I'm going to guess they'll get some kind of neutral site game somewhere. Your pool robot's dead, Kev? Say it ain't so. My son likes to watch pool robot videos. We watched some pool robot video last night. Yeah, we watched a review of, they were comparing two pool robots last night, and then we got to the end of the review, and it turned out the review had been paid for by the one that won the review. That was very suspicious. Yeah, they're not cheap. They're like Roombas on steroids. No. Not at the moment, Ellie Orange. Max would like a pool, so he's, just researching pool robots just in case. Yeah, we're big rivals with Tennessee now. Our competing oranges.
All across CNY, it's the 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
All right, back at it here on this Wednesday. What a beautiful Wednesday out there. Mostly cloudy, 79 degrees all across central New York right now. Skies look lovely as we approach the weekend, where it's going to rain again. For the 97th weekend in a row. 315-437-7644 for ESPN 44. Give a ring if you'd like to join in. We'll have the phone lines open rest of this hour. ACC SEC Challenge has been announced. Syracuse will be, not announced. The news has been broken by John Rothstein, but the next time he gets one of those wrong, will be the first. Sources: Syracuse, Tennessee in the Dome this year. Date and time of that to come, as we have the first official non-conference basketball opponent for Syracuse in this upcoming season. With that, let's go to the phones. Scooter is with us. What's up, Scoot?
Well, it'll be interesting. We play them in football, now we're going to play them in basketball. So it's we're going to get enough of Tennessee orange we're going to be looking at for a while.
Yes, their creamier shade has taunted the basketball team the last 2 years. We'll see if Fran can even things up with the football game this year.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. That's what I called. I mean, I don't know how you submit this stuff. I mean, I can think of better stuff I thought you would submit for, but I heard the Coach Boeheim's thing. That was classic. I mean, that was vintage, and for winning on that one, I wouldn't even call that an interview. I mean, that was more of a rant. I mean,
it's the beauty of the format. By just saying it was an interview, it became an interview.
Yeah.
You got to speak it into existence sometimes, Scooter.
So in other words, if he's just driving by and calls in, that's considered an interview, okay?
Well, I considered it an interview when I submitted it, and nobody asked any follow-up.
You submitted it.
Yeah,
okay.
and nobody asked any follow-up questions, so that's what we're going with.
I heard it, and I laughed at because you got certain people who swear they don't listen to talk radio, they don't pay attention to it, but it's amazing how it gets back to somebody, I guess.
Yes, that it is.
And then the commercial. I mean, Who are you up against? Joe Stanley or something like that?
It's possible nobody. We're not entirely. I've not seen the others nominated in the category.
Yeah.
Scooter. We're all deeply concerned that we won for it, but we'll take it.
See, I thought, up until like a couple of weeks ago, I thought that Flintstone was Flintstone. And I thought when they change the catchphrase from Yabba Dabba Doo to Yabba Dabba Doobie, that might want it. But that's classic, though. And then the last one was the call-in show. Now, that wasn't when Jordan started wearing his onesies, was it?
No, it was not. It was a home game, so it was not a one. It was not a onesie night. He was actually at the Dome, and he called in to complain about pulled pork prices at the end of the show, which was an award-winning phone call in its own right. But yeah, it's a weird science trying to figure out what the voters are going to go for, Scooter, because you're right. We've probably done better radio, but that's not the key. The key is somehow grabbing the voters' ears with nonsense in the first 5 seconds, and then you get a shot at one of these things.
Now, when your show, you actually go against Orange Nation?
Yes, we both submit. We are both losers in that category this year, and I don't know who won it. So I've not seen I've only seen who won for Galaxy this year. I've not seen the entire statewide winners list as of yet. So we don't know who we need to bitch about, who we lost to.
Well, you probably split the vote. That's probably the problem. I thought last year somebody from Batavia, someone that had a dugout show, won it last year or something like that.
I think in that category it was some random, it was some random music, something from Long Island. I forget exactly what it was.
Okay. So since it's not a sporting thing, it's actually just the show itself?
Yes, that one was because we compete in the mid-sized market. It's us against like Buffalo, Rochester, Albany, and Long Island are the main markets that we're tangling with.
Well, I heard Orange Nation submitted when Stephen Conte didn't know that Canada actually celebrated Christmas. I thought that was one of the classic things. And then his version of what happened when he was in a canoe and started fighting with seagulls up in Canada. I thought that's the reason why they might have a problem with that.
Yeah, they should have won for best international commentary is what they should have won for.
It was classic. I mean, if he did a top 5 there, but well, congratulations. I mean, so you're going to go up twice. You're going to have 3 acceptance speeches, right?
Yeah. The last time I was there was no acceptance speeches. You just went up and grabbed it and smiled. So in the past, Paulie has given weird acceptance speeches. So we'll see what happens. We don't exactly know what's going to go on at this thing. We know there'll be a free lunch though, and as media members, we'll show up.
Is there food involved?
Yeah, it's a buffet situation, so you know the media will be well represented at this thing.
Well, just thank Vito and the guy who called in, the Duke, and like I said, the Pawn Star thing. I like to see who your competition for that one was.
Yeah, we're gonna have to figure that out, but we probably don't want to know the answer to that, but Pawn Pros will be very happy with their last year of award-winning advertising on these airwaves.
Well, congratulations again.
All right, thank you, Scooter. There he is. Next year, maybe we'll have to submit Scooter's, Derby, Preakness, and Belmont picks. Maybe he can be award-winning in the newly made-up just now prognostication category. I don't know. We'll figure this out. We're just trying to get a grip on these things. How they decide them, I don't even know. There's got to be a smoky room somewhere. That's where most awards get decided, right? In the back of are there still smoky rooms, places to decide things like this? I don't know, but we'll take it. Well, you'd rather win the nonsense than lose it, right? Sure, we'll go for that. Or we're going to stack these trophies up and have a whole award-winning studio. All right, let's take a break. We'll get more calls when we come back. 315-437-7644. You could provoke me into saying something zany that could be award-winning next year. Who knows? And lawsuits. Woo! Those are two opposite ends of the spectrum, but we'll get into that after this. It's Q Sports Talk. It is ESPN Radio. It's generally LA Orange at the Embassy Suites right next to the mall. They usually put out a decent buffet. Yeah, they do. They do banquets in each of the markets, LA Orange, and honor the award winners in that market at that banquet. So there's like a banquet in Buffalo, Rochester. You understand the deal. So there's a bunch of different. They traverse the state doing a series of banquets. So we will drive to the 5 minutes to the Embassy Suites and have lunch at some point in September. Yeah, nobody's going to pay to travel to these things. I mean, it's very prestigious and all backed by big money. Yes, we're honoring Boeheim. That's what we're doing. Food's decent enough, Kev. I seem to remember it being a solid lunch. I think I went when last time Steve and Paulie when Jordan won. I seem to it's hotel banquet food, but it was solid. I seem to recall a very solid dessert table at the end of the day. It's no Ryan Mullen banquet at the Marriott, but we'll take it. I feel the lunch was decent last time, too. I don't recall what I ate. We didn't win anything last year, so we didn't go. There's Ryan. Trying to remember, they just asked, I had to cut, each award submission can be up to 5 minutes, and then they just asked to cut the winning parts down to a minute. I don't remember if they played them back at the banquet, but it's very possible me yelling about Weitzman will get played at the banquet, which could be funny. People there doing, serious stories about serious things. Me getting yelled at by Jim Boeheim and yelling about Adam Weitzman. No more Pepsi, Jen. What? Are they going Coke? Wow. I think we have more breaking news. Breaking news that will actually affect your lives. Where's the breaking news button? I haven't hit this in minutes. We have legit breaking news. This just in. Chris Carlson reporting. Syracuse University is switching from Pepsi to Coke. More updates as events warrant. Syracuse has been a Pepsi school since 1996 and apparently is switching back to Coke, a.k.a. that means Coke products will be in the Dome this year instead of Pepsi products for the first time in 30 years. Where's Paulie? Paulie, is the sound I just heard Paulie falling and weeping in the corner somewhere that there will not be Diet Pepsi available in the Dome anymore, that it will now be Diet Coke? Paulie, I think I just felt a tremor in the universe of Paulie weeping. So, yes, Pepsi gone. Coke in. This applies, I mean, it's a university-wide contract. It applies to literally everything on campus. But how it's going to affect you, the good people of Syracuse specifically, it means that you will be going to Coke. And if you prefer a clear bubbly beverage, you will not be figuring out whatever the hell a Starry is anymore. You will be drinking a Sprite. So congratulations on that. No word on Coke Zero or Diet Coke or what the varietals will be. But there we are. That means you'll be going from Aquafina to Dasani. Your bottled water will be changing. It will taste exactly the same, but it will be changing. Yeah. So that is actually, like, from a university perspective, that is a major, like, those contracts are big money things. So there we are. Syracuse University is going from Pepsi to Coke. Man, the news we're breaking on this show is getting progressively larger. We've gone from Pawn Pro commercials winning an award to Syracuse, Tennessee in the ACC SEC Challenge to the thing that's realistically going to affect a lot of you more than any of this is the Dome going from Pepsi to Coke. I'm going to get, like, a lot of you will be happy. Some of you won't. Paulie, we need to get an APB out. I'm a little worried about a wellness check on Paulie Sibilia. Paulie Sibilia, please report to the studio. We need to make sure that you are okay. The Dome will be switching from Pepsi to Coke. Paulie, over the course of the last 30 years, has drank approximately 7,900,856 Diet Pepsis while inside the Carrier and now JMA Dome. And now he will be switching to Coke, Diet Coke, which he does drink on occasion, usually only, as we have learned, when he gets it from McDonald's. That is when he goes Coke. We're going to have to see if he's been shaken to his very, very core. No word yet if the information has made it back to Paulie. He is the person I know that will be affected by this quite literally the most. Due to amount of times in the building and amount of soft drinks consumed. We'll have to see on this. I'd say generally you assume people, like, I'd say more people prefer Coke to Pepsi, just generally. Obviously, Coke is number one in the soda world and Pepsi is number two. But this is just going to throw people on their head. Obviously, a lot of people, when they go to the Dome, they prefer the beer line to the soda line, but plenty of people are consuming soda at sporting events. There's going to be some people's lives that have just been absolutely rocked by this news. For some people, this is like the bombshell news of the century, that their soda at their sporting events will have been changed from Pepsi to Coke. Wow. On the list of news I did not think I'd be talking about today, that I was not up on the idea the contract was even up. Never occurred to me. Literally every single time I have been to the Dome, it has been a Pepsi situation. Every single time. It was last Coke in 1996. I don't think I'd been in the Dome for anything yet by 1996. Every single time I've been in the Dome, a Pepsi building. Now it goes Coke. So there we are. There we are. Yeah, so Super Cat in the chat, Coke more ACC. That's a good point. Coke's headquartered in Atlanta, right? I don't think I'm making that up. That Coke is an Atlanta area original. That's yeah. Like down in the South, it's not soda, it's Coke. Like every soft drink in the South is Coke, and then you differentiate which Coke you're having from there. Like in the South, it's Coke. What, like, if it's like Sprite, like 7-Up in the South is Coke. I mean, it's all Coke. What kind of Coke do you want? That's how they do it down in the South. So yeah, we'll see how that all goes. But that is oddly major news for something that doesn't matter at all. That is huge news For those of you that have season tickets to the Dome that are Pepsi people, like, are you freaking out? How you going to handle this? You sneaking Pepsi in? Clear bag in your Pepsi? How you doing it? You got like a secret compartments in your coat for your Pepsi? What will Paulie do? Questions about. Paulie usually pokes his head in here during one of the commercial breaks, so I don't know if he's learned this yet, but we will ambush him with this news hopefully before the end of the day and just see how he handles this landmark news day here in Syracuse. I was going to do something else this segment. I think that segment just needs to be. It needs to just be by itself. There's lawsuits, major lawsuits affecting the sporting world, but Pepsi and Coke switching on Syracuse University locally, much more important. So we're gonna let that hang out by itself. We'll tell you about the lawsuits in relation to the House settlement, which just got settled last Friday. We've had lawsuits less than a week later. We knew there'd be lawsuits. We just didn't know what would be first. We now know that. We'll tell you about that when we come back. Your calls, 315-437-7644. Are you now deeply distraught or celebrating the current soft drink situation and the future of that in the Dome? Big questions to come here on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. I do remember Pepsi Clear, Jen. I had a buddy growing up that his dad worked for like the Pepsi distributor in the Albany area, so he had like every possible Pepsi and Pepsi-related product in his house. Well, I was on the ground floor of Mountain Dew Code Red. Like, we were in on that early. Got people across the street, Kev. They got an extended shallow end. It seems like a good idea, the extended shallow end. Paulie, have you heard the news? Yes, just the person we needed.
I will burn the dome to the ground.
Yes, Paulie's life has been shaken to its very core.
Yeah, I don't care if they fire red.
Yeah, fire everybody.
You can't change my drink.
Like what? Like, this is affecting, like, literally, like hundreds of things you're going to drink next year.
Yes, I'm going to have to drink Diet Cokes.
I mean, you will.
I'll survive.
Will you go diet, like, if they have both Diet Coke and Coke Zero, which way do you go?
Diet. I like the taste of diet.
You like the artificial flavorings?
The carcinogens.
Yeah, all right.
Me off this rock faster.
Okay.
What's for dinner tonight?
Leftovers.
Brisket?
The brisket was good.
Chicken thighs for me.
We've got some leftover brisket. We've got a lot of leftovers in the fridge. I don't even know what's.
Some mac and cheese.
I think there's some leftover mac and cheese in the. It was a burnt end brisket situation yesterday, so I put some in a roll with some barbecue sauce and consumed it that way, which was delightful. I think there is some leftover mac and cheese.
I'm into the zesty marinade.
You've been very. Will you have a Diet Pepsi? No, you only drink your Kool-Aid at home or whatever.
I actually have a liter of Diet caffeine-free.
Okay. Paulie's going to drown his sorrows in caffeine-free Diet Pepsi. I hear great things about the Mexican Coke. And then apparently during Passover every year, there's like the kosher for Passover Coke. That's also like some high test stuff. Was it good, Jen? Yeah, the Mexican Coke is like it's like a different colored cap, right? The cap is like, the yellow caps is Passover Coke. Fago. Sabastino's near campus, they had this sheeter and 50 wings deal back in the day that we'd get with a bunch of dudes, and they'd always taught you'd always got a free 2 liter of Fago. Yeah, it's just straight sugar, right, L.A. Arch? If the cartel doesn't get you, the Coke will. Fago it was fine. Wouldn't go out of my way for it, but they tossed it in for free. It's like, take this Faygo. Like, we don't want your Faygo. You'll take the Faygo. Like, all right. We'll take the Faygo. I feel it's the only place I've ever consumed Faygo from. Sabastino's on Westcott. Is that where it is? Then our orders were always so ridiculous because we had so many people. They would always call me back to confirm. Like, did you just order this? Yeah. All right. Now remember Tab. Does Tab still exist? All right, back at it here on this Wednesday. Paulie popped in during the break for those concerned, or the opposite of concerned, about Paulie's Diet Pepsi habits, which are prolific. He is, I believe, currently somewhere between a state of shock and a state of mourning, and a state of acceptance. He will be drinking Diet Coke at the Dome next year, and he is a Diet Coke over a Coke Zero guy. So we've learned the pertinent information that will affect a significant volume of liquid that passes through the JMA Dome between Labor Day and the end of basketball season next year. It's a lot of Diet Coke that is going to be replacing the Diet Pepsi, generally consumed by one Paulie Sibilia. With that, I'd say to more important topics. I don't know. I think this Pepsi Coke thing is maybe more important here in Syracuse. But in the least shocking news of all time, there has been a lawsuit in reply to all the lawsuits, appeals. It's just college sports is just, it's lawsuits. All it is lawsuits these days. So our friend Amanda Kristovich from Front Office Sports reported this earlier today. The first post-House versus NCAA settlement lawsuit is in. A group of 8 women spanning several sports. I believe it was soccer, volleyball, and there was something else in there. And it was Virginia, the College of Charleston, and somewhere else. And it's going to be the first of many. They have sued over a portion of the settlement. Now, the portion of the settlement that we, as observers and fans of the sports that are happening on the field now, are focused on is the $20.5 million annually in revenue share that schools will be able to distribute to their current athletes. This lawsuit does not affect that. That said, this lawsuit is the first of likely many. This lawsuit, this group of recent women is suing over the $2.8 billion in back pay affecting the last 10 years of athletes is going forward, because that has been distributed, and it was like 75% is going to football, 10 or whatever going to men's basketball, slightly less to women's basketball, and the rest split up elsewhere. They are suing over the fact that this has not been applied with gender equity vis-a-vis Title IX, and that this $2.8 billion should be split equally, 50-50, or not, it's equally by the ratio of men's to female, male to female athletes out there, whatever the exact number of that is. It is close to 50-50 currently in athletic ratio. So instead of 75% going to football, it should be going equally per Title IX. We asked Dan Green about this yesterday. We've asked Amanda about this. We've asked everybody we've talked to about this at some point over the last year. Will Title IX come into play here? And everybody, from a business perspective, from a legal perspective, from any perspective we've discussed this from thus far, has essentially said, we don't know. And we still don't. The one thing that we all thought, though, is it was going to result in lawsuits, and here's the first. So this lawsuit is only affecting back pay to athletes that are already done, that missed out on the NIL pay-for-play era. That's not pay-for-play, but come on, it's pay-for-play. Nobody is sued about this going forward yet. Which all that means is that soon somebody will sue about this going forward. Like, that's all. All that means is the lawsuit hasn't happened yet. Like, clearly the lawsuit's going to happen. All it means is it hasn't happened yet. So these two lawsuits, and however they get sued and however far up they go, it feels like something that eventually will reach the Supreme Court, right? Like, this is something that is going to affect billions upon billions of dollars and where it's going. Like, it feels like something that's going to reach the Supreme Court. And unlike the previous cases, right, that were, whenever it got to the Supreme Court, it was basically the Supreme Court just slapping the NCAA and being like, you dummies. This one is not for or against the NCAA. It's deciding amongst people within it. So I think that's going to be a very interesting here going forward of how this gets decided, how fast this gets decided, how fast there is a lawsuit affecting things going forward, which could actually throw the brakes on things. And, when's this all going to happen? Because for stuff to climb the ladder through the appellate courts up to the Supreme Court, yeah, not a fast process. The gears of justice, they grind slowly. It's not a sprint. Those judges, a lot of them, they're appointed for life. They've got time. They got a minute to think about these things and get it on the docket, get their robes on, and properly deliberate it. So we'll have to see how that all goes. But how many of these lawsuits are there going to be? This is the first. It's probably the first of many. And how is it going to affect the immediate world in which, like, J.J. Starling, Donnie Freeman, Steve Angeli, Ricky Collins, like, current players on campus are expecting X amount of money starting now, and Y amount of the X is coming from this money that is to be distributed beginning July 1 of this year. Is the tap, which was green lit Friday night at 9:30, 6:30 West Coast time when Judge Wilkin finally signed off, will it be turned off before it actually gets turned on because there are appeals that put the brakes on it, blah, 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 blah. We don't know, but I know it's June 11th right now, and July starts in 20 days. So the next 20 days legally are going to be really, really interesting times to see how fast this thing moves. All right, let's get a phone call. We got Rob in Baldwinsville, who is actually an usher at the Dome, Rob. So you're in on this Coke versus Pepsi thing pretty big.
No, this was years ago when they switched it over, Brian.
Okay.
I was there for 10 years during the MAC time, and Brian, when we heard the scuttlebutt that it was going to change over, you wouldn't believe it. They quickly, I think it got turned around in 2 days. They brought all these, all the trucks in. It was like a caravan, and they flipped everything right out and switched right over to Pepsi.
Oh, yeah.
That's 30 years ago. That's 30 years ago.
And I'm sure, Rob, they're going to flip it just as quick back the other way. Like Pete Salo and crew, when they got stuff like that, they don't mess around on a time landscape like that. The Pepsi signage and taps and everything, like those are going to be gone from the Dome in a matter of days, I would imagine, if not already. Like, obviously, nobody's been in there for a game here in a minute, so it's possible it's already disappeared without us seeing it. But, yeah, that stuff's going to get changed over real quick.
And they also, Brian, when they did things, Coke wasn't as big in Syracuse as far as they have a new facility over there, distribution center. I mean, it's all been rehabbed in the last 10 years.
Okay.
And I'm sure the ACC, like you said, is a major reason too, because Atlanta is the headquarters of Coke, and I'm sure if you check, there's a lot of Coke instead of Pepsi in the ACC, all the venues.
I'd say
all the venues.
With having been to most of them, off the top of my head, I don't remember the exact numbers, but yeah, most places you go, Coke is the available product when you're in the arenas, looking at concession stands and all of that. So Syracuse will fit in with its ACC brethren now. All right, Rob, thanks as always for the call. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how, how it is. Whenever there's change, people freak out. So somebody's going to freak out over this, and Paulie was handling it better than I thought. We'll see how he's doing tomorrow once the shock wears off. Phone lines remain open, 315-437-7644. Looks like we got one more coming in here before we go to a break. But yeah, like even if you are a Coke over Pepsi person, like when you go to the Dome for 30 years, like you get used to it. You deal with it. And now it's flipping back the other way. Like, you know how it is when you go to a game, you got your routines. You go to the concession stand, you get your beer, you get your hot dog, you get your Pepsi, you get your whatever. Well, now your routine just changed. Change your seats one year, they change their soda the next year, still no cup holders. What are people going to do? All right, Dave in the Cuse is on the line. Hey, Dave.
Hey, Brad. All right, so very quickly, I need this to explain to me like I'm a 2-year-old.
Okay.
The lawsuit you just brought up, it is from people that are already out of college from the past, right, that are looking for revenue loss.
Correct. From my understanding of this, like there's the money we think about, the $20 million that Syracuse and other schools can distribute on an annual basis. Part of the settlement also included $2.8 billion in damages. That money is going to come from the NCAA and be supplied by schools in some way. That's going to athletes of, I think it's the last 10 years, pre-NIL that didn't have access to any of this. So, yes, the lawsuit is coming from where was it in this article? It's in the article somewhere. Where did I have it? It's coming from a mix of track, soccer, and volleyball players from Vanderbilt. There's one from Vanderbilt. There's 6 from the College of Charleston and 1 from UVA. So, yeah, they are all, to my understanding, athletes that have completed their eligibility that are suing for back pay.
So they're looking for money where NIL did not exist when they were playing. Well, Brian, I made $2.60 as minimum in 1979. It's now $17. Can I go back and sue for the difference, the hours I worked back then?
I think Dave, you gotta go sue for back pay of back minimum wage for 50 years ago. I think it's the only way. That's where this stuff's ridiculous. Like, I think, should they have been getting paid? Sure, but you weren't, and now you're upset about the amount you're getting of the amount that you never thought you were getting in the first place. Like, it's getting surreal out there with some of this stuff.
I can't believe what the courts are granting. I'm just dumbfounded by it. I don't understand where it's going, and I have to admit, it affects the fandom a little bit. I'll always be a diehard Syracuse fan. But if we're not going to be involved in things, my fandom will fall off, and I think it'll happen for a lot of other fans that are in maybe smaller market college places.
Yeah, that's what's tough when more and more of the conversation, right, is lawsuits and legal stuff and Supreme Court and whatever, and not the score of games. Like, people can only care about that stuff for so long. So, so we'll see how it all goes. But that's the hope. Like, hopefully it gets resolved quickly, so we can get back to the other stuff, but none of this stuff ever seems to go very quick, Dave.
A major turnoff. Thanks, Brian.
All right, thank you, Dave. And yeah, Dave's point is, I think, very pertinent to a lot of people out there. Like, we still all watch the games, we still love the games, but the more and more this becomes extremely transactional, which is what it is with NIL. Everyone wants their payday, and I get it. And yeah, I get it. We're past the area of, you play for your team and all this stuff, but everyone here is trying to root for Syracuse or whatever your team is. When you don't know who the players are, and it's all about money, and the games get lost in the wash, that's very tough on the fan. There needs to be a way. Obviously, most of us watch pro sports too. Pro sports has figured out a way where we still root for the teams and everyone gets their money, and even though it's crazy dollar amounts, everyone's still passionate and figures it out. College sports is in some weird middle nebulous area right now where it's hard to get a grasp of all of this because we just don't know where the finish line is going to be. Pro sports, we accepted the finish line a long, long time ago, and we've all moved on. College, we just don't know where we're at, and it's hard to figure out. With that, we'll take a break. Hour 2 is next. Fran Brown Countdown. Your calls, 315-437-7644. U.S. Open preview starts tomorrow in Pittsburgh with our guy Greg Ducharme. All that coming up in Hour 2 here on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio.
This
Oh, yeah. That's a Factronic. Oh, yeah. These deals are major. Like, those are major deals to be the official soft drink of the entire university. I don't know what the exact number is, but it's a major agreement. Like, those are major corporate agreements. Q's Vegas is shook. No, this is going to be a big change locally of a bunch of stuff. You prefer their branding? I did? I don't think I said 5 years, did I? There wasn't anything in Chris's article that indicates the length of the contract. Other than, like, Pepsi's been had it for 30 years. That obviously wasn't a 30-year deal. I don't know how many different re-signings of contracts that was. Yeah, I don't know how long, like 5 years. Like, that's one where you've got to do it over a decent chunk of time, because it is a lot to change everything out. I mean, you got to change everything out across the whole campus. Yeah, I don't know if this is a 5-year deal, a 10-year deal. I don't know how long a deal like this would go for. Yeah, I mean, it feels like it's got to be at least 5 years, Kev. No, that's a big loss locally for Pepsi. Like, those are major contracts. Will Cherry Coke be available at the Dome? I do like a Cherry Coke. What does this mean for Dr. Pepper, who's always dancing down the middle? It's like their own thing. Yeah, like if I'm just given the choice, I pick Coke over Pepsi, Jackie. But I am not one that, like, if, like, Pepsi's there, I'm like, no. Oh, yes, Jen, this is a campus-wide, like, that deal's a campus-wide deal. That's going to include every dining hall, every place that beverages are served on campus. You could not get a Coke anywhere on Syracuse's campus. For 30 years, you could not get a Coke. Couldn't get it in a vending machine. You couldn't get it anywhere. And now you're not going to be able to get a Pepsi. Or a Starry. So I don't know why Pepsi changed up from Sierra Mist to Starry. Like, yeah, Sierra Mist was losing to Sprite, but it was fine. Starry's weird. Yeah, Mountain Dew is a Pepsi product. Right? Maybe they had illicit Coke.
Can we review our stuff?
Hey, what happened? Lisa, if you don't like your job, you don't strike. You just go in every day and do it really half-assed. That's the American way.
I hope it's happy hour.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
This is a great day. A really great day.
All across CNY, it's the 315 with Brian Higgins. Halfway home, we drive into the second hour with Burdick BMW.
All right, hour 2 here. Phone lines open, 315-437-7644 for ESPN 44 if you'd like to join in. U.S. Open preview coming in about 10 minutes. We'll get some picks from Greg Ducharme of CBS and the Second Cut podcast. Right now, we've had a lot of breaking news today. Awards won. Syracuse, Tennessee, ACC, SEC Challenge in the Dome this year. Third straight year they'll be playing Tennessee. Second straight year they'll play them in this challenge. And then the biggest bombshell news of the day, Coke is replacing Pepsi at Syracuse University, a.k.a. in the Dome. Pepsi out, Coke in. Bombshell news. Like, it's tongue-in-cheek, but it's also extremely serious. That's, like, really huge news. Like, that's a major contract, the official soft drink provider of an entire university. It's not just the Dome. It's literally every building, every vending machine, every cafeteria, every dining hall, every dorm, everything. Coke instead of Pepsi for the first time in 30 years will be switching out on campus. That said, we've made it an hour plus into the show, and we haven't done this yet. And as is required by the laws of the show, we must do this.
It's a Fran Brown countdown.
About to get wild.
I know that's...
Winners get wild.
100 days.
I'm getting 100 cups of coffee, starting now.
100 thoughts.
Hey, Fran Brown.
It's a Fran Brown countdown to Syracuse football.
What a win for the franchise. What a year it has been.
All right, 80 days. We are officially 20% done with our 100-day countdown to Syracuse football. August 30th in Atlanta, the home of Coca-Cola. Syracuse will be playing Tennessee. That was announced today. This is getting spooky. Syracuse, Tennessee, Coke. It's some sort of weird nexus triangle of power. I don't know what's going on, but we're 80 days out from kickoff. Nooner Saturday, August 30th, Cuse, Tennessee from Atlanta. I don't know what the beverages are at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, but they're in Atlanta. Like, there's 100% chance that if you go to the opener, you'll be having Coca-Cola products at that game. Well, Fran Brown countdown, we got a 2-day countdown going on right now to when Rochester wide receiver Messiah Hampton announces his verbal commitment. He's been to Syracuse. He's been to Oregon. Those two appear to be the lead two. Miami's also in the mix. Penn State's in the mix. He's currently ranked 102nd nationally of all players by the 24/7 composite recruiting rankings, the 11th ranked wide receiver. But Grace Rayner, friend of the show of The Athletic, had this nugget in her article today. Messiah Hampton is the highest rated recruit from the state of New York since 2019. This is the class of 2026. He's the highest rated recruit from New York in 7 years. 7. Talk about how important this recruit is. Maybe more important than the 5-star wideout Mercedes Russell. Mercedes Russell? What was his name? I don't know. He's not important anymore. Remember him later. He's a 4-star guy. He's a top 100 guy. He's the highest ranked player in the state in 7 years. See if you remember this name, because I didn't. Never heard it before. Adisa Isaac, who I might be saying right. He's currently heading into his second year with the Ravens. He was a 3rd-round draft pick, a defensive end edge rusher type out of Penn State. He was out of Brooklyn. He was number 92 in the country back in 2019. 4th-ranked edge rusher in America. I'd never heard of him before. He had a perfectly fine collegiate career, 14-some-odd sacks, 3rd-round draft pick. Again, I'd never heard of him before. I know we're much more into recruiting now in the Fran Brown era. I went back and clicked on his recruiting profile, looked at offers, looked at visits. I don't know if Syracuse had heard of him before. The block S was not there on any page that I clicked on 7 years ago. Dino, top-ranked recruit in New York State. Not, did they reach out? Was there any communication? I don't know. But there was nothing that led remotely anywhere. 7 years later, number 102 recruit in the country. Syracuse is in the thick of it. Will they get him? I don't know. But what a change it makes. Previous guy? Nothing. Not a sniff, not a mention, not a whisper. Never heard of his name. Now, we're 2 days out, less than 2 days out probably. We expected early afternoon. Well, we'll see how the timing goes down on all of this on Friday with Messiah Hampton's announcement. But Syracuse is in it with a chance. The last guy this good in this state, we're not even sure Syracuse had heard of him. Major changes right now when we talk about recruiting and we talk about Fran Brown. So we'll see how that all goes down later this week. But my guess is, they're not going to get them all. Top player in your state, getting them every year, that's tough. But I know this. For as long as Fran Brown is here, Fran Brown is going to try to be heavily involved with the number one player in the state of New York. And those will be some intriguing recruiting battles to watch on an annual basis. That is for darn sure. All right, with that, we'll take a break. When we come back, our guy Greg Ducharme, CBS, Second Cut Podcast, U.S. Open. Oakmont, just outside Pittsburgh, starts tomorrow. We get the preview from Greg. We get it next here on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. It's a viable point, Super Cat. That is a very pertinent point. So that said, does Coke, what are the seltzers and whatnot fall under Coke and what fell under Pepsi? I wonder if any of that's going to change out in the Dome because of this. You're picking a Nike golfer to win, Ryan? Scheffler, Rory. They're both Nike. Brooks. Finau, I saw Finau's wife did like his swag unboxing on the gram the other day for the Open. That was a lot of stuff. He's got some nice fits for the weekend. He just hasn't been playing well. Neither is Brooks. Scheffler playing well. Yeah, apparently. I'd never seen it before. I don't know why it popped up for me this time. It was the first I'd seen it. I like Finau's Sunday shirt. It looked fun. He must have just like so much Nike crap. Like, what does he do with it all? He must just have a shocking amount. Like, they're sending you new stuff every tournament. I can see Bryson going out and having himself a tourney. Bryson is playing very well. Yeah, they do. They all must have so much stuff. So much stuff. Or they're just giving away stuff to everybody and anybody. Yeah, will he be donning that shirt on Sunday? Not required to wear it if he misses the cut. I like how they put like the laminated fit card in there so he knows what to wear on the given day. Yes, Tony Finau will be selling his shirts at Pawn Pros, who has been blessed with award-winning advertising. Did it, Kev? I was wondering. I got sidetracked. I was starting to check that this afternoon, and I got sidetracked. I may have to start making that a segment. AI picks. Yeah, no Goonies. Goonies, an award-winning VHS. only at Paulie's house. '40th, Ryan? Man.
CubeSportsTalk.com. All across CNY, it's the 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
All right, back at it here on this Wednesday. 24 hours from now, we'll be in the thick of it, deep in the afternoon of the opening round of the United States Open, just outside Pittsburgh at Oakmont this week. And with that, let's talk a little golf. Let's bring on our next guest. He is Greg Ducharme of CBS and the Second Cut podcast. Greg, thanks so much for hopping on to get a little preview here today.
Hey, thanks for having me. An exciting week down there at Oakmont for the U.S. Open. It's kind of the marquee U.S. Open venue, and it looks like it's going to be quite a challenge this week.
Yeah, I'd say we've all seen the videos, right, on Instagram and YouTube and everywhere of people just putting balls in the rough during the practice round and then, like, trying to find them again. What do you make of this? Like, what is this rough going to be like for these top players in the world this week?
You know, this is always, when it comes to the U.S. Open, this is always a really hot topic. And there are always videos of golf balls going into the rough. Now, sometimes it plays really difficult. Other times, the players surprise us. So I'm a little concerned that some of these guys are going to have the ability to hack it out of the rough. But I'll tell you, Brian, this rough seems different.
You know,
challenge. It's going to be 5 inches deep, and it looks awfully thick.
I saw, I don't know if it was the head groundskeeper or somebody on his staff or something. I saw an interview with somebody yesterday, and he was talking about, like, how they grow it and how they've been growing it out from, like, their normal height of whatever it is, 2.5 inches to this thick, bushy 5 inches. It just sounded sadistic the way he was talking about it. Like he was like gleeful about what he was doing to these people. It's funny to hear these greenskeeper guys talk about how they do this stuff.
Well, at Oakmont, it's a very unique club in that the membership wants their golf course to be U.S. Open ready year-round. So they take this very seriously, and they have great pride in it. You know, there are legends that say when they have a U.S. Open, they have to slow the greens down compared to normal play. Now, I don't think it's like that every day. Maybe for some of their marquee events, they tune them up even faster than they will be for the U.S. Open. But the point is still the same. They want this to be the hardest golf course in the world. And so they do things like they have custom mowers that actually can mow grass at 5 inches instead of at the typical 3.5 inches. And what that allows them to do is actually cut the rough even when they want it to be 5 inches long. And basically the reason for that is if you just take 3-inch rough and grow it, you just don't mow it, it will start to lay down. It'll start to fall over itself. But when they mow it at 5 inches, they actually cut some grass off. At 5 inches, it stands straight up. So the golf ball sits straight down in the bottom, and that's why you have what looks to be hack-out rough.
Which leads to this question here, and it certainly leads to Bryson, right? He's won the Open twice in the last 5 years. He's been fantastic at it of late. And there is the one theory, right? All right, the rough is so penal, you have to be accurate in the fairway. Then there's the way Bryson's played some of these, where it's just like, yeah, well, everyone's going to be in the rough, so I might as well just hit it as far as humanly possible, and then figure it out from there. Like, which theory do you think is the one that is the better one this week, considering what we're seeing here?
It's the biggest question mark heading into this event, in my opinion. And there's a couple reasons for that. One is, of course, you want to be in the fairway over being in the rough. That's obvious. Now, the next question is, what are you willing to sacrifice in order to be in the fairway?
Mm-hmm.
And if you listen to most of the players, they're not willing to hit less than driver in order to hit more fairways, because you're still going to miss fairways. Even if you hit 3-wood or a long iron off the tee, it doesn't guarantee the fairway. So you're better off getting it down there as far as you can and hoping for the best. I don't believe this is like Wingfoot, where Bryson can separate himself with play from the rough, but I still think that club head speed is such an advantage where if he does hit it in the rough and he's got to wedge it out, he's still probably more able to wedge it out effectively than everybody else because he's a little stronger than most guys. And the other thing is he'll be closer to the green. So when he does wedge it out, that third shot will be a shorter shot, which is an advantage. So I guess the ultimate thing is you have to hit driver, and you have to hit driver into the fairway. So the guys that are the straightest with that club, I think are going to have a real advantage.
Yeah, we know the fairways here aren't exactly, yawning and wide. A lot of places to receive the golf ball, so it'll be very interesting to see how that goes this week. And, the other conversation that we've been hearing is like, oh, man, how is anyone going to break par? But then you look at recent Opens, and as tough as they've been, right, you're still seeing, I think it's 3 straight years, 6 under is one. You're seeing 4 unders winning. It's been a minute, right, since over par is one. Do you think that's legit in play this week, or are guys so good now that, even on the toughest courses, you got to go 4, 5, 6 under to win?
I'll tell you, if you're watching all those YouTube videos you mentioned, it doesn't look possible to shoot under par. But I do believe that this tournament, the winner will be under par, and there's a couple reasons for that. Number one, there are birdie opportunities on the golf course. You have to hit it in the fairway, but you have 4 par 4s that are under 400 yards, and another one that's just about 410 yards. Those are scoring opportunities. You have 2 par 5s. Even though they're difficult, they are scoring opportunities. And then you have 4 par 3s. As difficult as they are, you don't have to deal with the rough on that first shot. So there are, in my opinion, enough opportunities to make birdie if you're really on your game. And here's the other thing. The most important factor affecting scoring is the weather we've had this week leading into the tournament, softening up the golf course just a little bit, and the expected weather, which is kind of hit or miss, but it's at the very least going to be cloudy throughout the week. So I think that's going to soften up the golf course enough where it's not Mickey Mouse. Good shots will be rewarded, and that allows someone who's really on their game to break par over 4 rounds, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd say the third factor is what course on planet Earth right now is capable of holding Scotty Scheffler under par. He is on an absolute tear. We know there's some other great golfers out there, but how large is the gap in your mind right now, Greg, from just a standard day from Scotty to everybody else?
Well, there's been a lot of debate. This was more before the Canadian Open. Who was having the better season, Scotty or Rory? They both had 3 wins, including a major, some significant wins as well. Scotty won by 8, but Rory's won 2 signature events and a major. Who's had the better year? And I was looking at some of the stats. If you look at strokes gained total, Scotty Scheffler is more than almost 3/4 of a shot per round better than Rory McIlroy on the year. He's been far more consistent. That's the same gap between Scotty and Rory. That same gap is Rory to Patrick Cantlay, who's 9th in strokes gained total. So it is a really significant gap. I'll give you one other thing. There are, on the PGA Tour website, there are 460 stats. So it is an absurd amount of statistics on that site. Scotty Scheffler leads the tour in 43 of them, and some of them are maybe they're who cares kind of stats. But I'll tell you this: he leads in all the really important ones: off the tee, approaching the green, scoring average, tee to green, total, all the stats you want to lead in, bogey avoidance. Scotty Scheffler's first. So it's a pretty wide gap, in my opinion.
Yeah, and obviously he cruised down the stretch of the PGA a month ago. Rory's an interesting case. Rory's always an interesting case, right? Like we thought he had the monkey off the back victory of all time, right, by winning that Masters, and it just feels like he's been out in left field here a little bit since. What's your sense of the state of Rory as he gets ready to tee it up tomorrow?
Rory doesn't seem to me to be very motivated with his goals. It doesn't seem like he's reset after the Masters yet, which is totally understandable. I was very much on the fence about this after the Masters victory. What would the rest of the season look like? And I thought it could be monkey off the back. We get freewheeling Rory McIlroy like the way he played when he was 23 years old. The other side of the coin was, hey, I've won golf. I'm kind of done with this,
yeah.
And I may take a little time to enjoy it. Both of those would be very valid, very understandable. And unfortunately, right now, for Rory McIlroy fans, we're seeing the latter. He's taken some time to enjoy this. But there's one other strange thing about this, in my opinion, Brian, and that's he doesn't sound like a guy that's enjoying what he's done. He sounds like a guy that's annoyed. And it doesn't seem like he's in a very good headspace right now. Much of it is self-inflicted, in my opinion. Some of it's being annoyed with the media. There's a lot of things going on there, but when the best driver of the golf ball in the game, and that's arguable, but he's certainly one of them, when he and it's certainly his strongest asset, when he loses the driver, things get pretty ugly. And right now, he's lost the driver.
He quite literally lost the driver right a few weeks ago when they ruled it illegal and they made him use a different one, which sounds shocking, but it's not. That's kind of a normal thing that happens over the course of years. We got Greg Ducharme, CBS, the Second Cup podcast with us. U.S. Open starts tomorrow. I feel golf is always interesting in this case, in that a title that always seems to be around golf that's maybe not around other sports as much as who's the best player that is yet to win a major. Like last year and for the last few years it was Xander Schauffele. Then he goes out and knocks off two of them. Do you have somebody right now, Greg, that is that in your mind? Has somebody stepped up into that role that is like, all right, I'm the best, I'm the next one on this list?
Yeah, for me it would be Patrick Cantlay, who's kind of been on this list for a long time. And we haven't seen Patrick Cantlay really get into contention and really get in the mix this season. But I believe that statistically speaking, he's hitting the ball about as well as he ever has in his entire career. And he just seems to shift down a little bit in major championships. But his game is so good all the way through the bag. I do believe he's the best player. He's also won really big events. And that's the difference between him and, say, Ludwig Oberg, who's a young rising star who hasn't won a major yet and likely will. A Victor Hovland, who's a young star who hasn't won a major yet and likely will. Patrick Cantlay is a little more experienced than both of those guys, so I would probably put him at the top of my list.
Okay, it's just I think he's one, like some of these guys are very likable, right, when you're on that list. Like when Phil was doing it back in the day, it was an exotic quest for years. Cantlay's got like the slow play thing going on, always kind of looks grumpy, right? It's kind of a weird situation. I don't know how much of his fan base is out there, right?
If you want to get the fans to turn on you, all you got to do is play slow. That's the number one thing. So guys fans certainly get annoyed with that from time to time. It makes it hard on the television producers when you're going to cut to Cantlay, who's a significant figure in the game. You want to see what he's going to do, but it just takes a while when you cut to him. So that definitely creates a challenge, and I don't think there are herds of people clamoring for him to win a major there were for Phil Mickelson, to use your example.
Yeah, or like even Schauffele. Like Schauffele was a popular guy last year. Like I think people enjoyed that when it happened. And I think you look at Oberg or Hovland or something, like those are fun, exciting players. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes here this week. So handicap this for us, Greg. Open at Oakmont, always good. DJ won here last time. Bryson's won 2 of the last 5. Scotty's obviously the best in the world right now. Who's your pick? Who's standing out? What picks are you looking at this week?
Yeah, this is a the Scotty Scheffler show continued, in my opinion. And I mentioned earlier some of the statistics, which certainly explain why. But there's one other thing, specifically for the U.S. Open, that stands out to me this year. And that's this season for Scotty it's turned the corner, and it's been much better. But there's been moments where Scotty has not played very well and still finished very strong. And it highlights something that's so important in U.S. Opens. So I'll give you an example. Last year was a near flawless year from Scotty Scheffler. It was perfect golf. You might call it pretty golf. It was a very pretty season from Scotty Scheffler. This year, there's been a little struggle. It's gotten a little dirty for him at times. He's had to overcome some miscues with the tee to green play. And while I think he solved that, I still think the ugly nature of some of his rounds this year, the grind factor has gone way up. And he's had to lean on his putter a little more, and it's come through. It's one of the most forgotten changes that Scotty Scheffler was clearly the best player in the game, made at the very end of last year before the Hero World Challenge. He switched to the claw putting grip. And while he made some good strides last year with the putter, the switch to the claw has been even better. He's now 25th on the PGA Tour in strokes gained putting. It's by far his best putting season to date. And I think that's going to play a role when you miss fairways and you have to hack out. Now you got to lean on your wedge game. He's the best wedge player, but you also have to hold the putts. I think Scotty Scheffler has found a new way, a new gear this year. When things get tough, that putter stands up for him. I think that's going to be the difference maker for him this week.
And we know this in the U.S. Open, like you got to make your fair share of 8-footers and putts like that if you want to win this thing, and that will never change at this championship. All right, Greg, appreciate the time as always. Thanks so much. Enjoy the Open this week.
Thank you, Brian. You enjoyed too. I appreciate the time this afternoon.
All right, there he is, Greg Ducharme. Check him out. Does a bunch of stuff for CBS, the Second Cut podcast. He had a neat little video up on his Twitter earlier today demonstrating the putting aspect of the Open this week. And you can check out Greg at @TheRealGFD on the social medias. With that, we'll step aside. 411 is next. It's Q Sports Talk. It is ESPN Radio. I saw that story, Ryan. That's crazy. People are nuts. Look, it's Tim.
Hey, what do you want for the pod?
One.
Milwaukee there with the Pepsi.
Yeah, I think, 1, 3. 1, 3, 1, 3, 4?
1, 3, 4.
Yeah, sorry, Fran. How many of the guys I talk to are Cuse grads? That's a good question, Supercat. Like, I go that route when they're available to me. A lot of it is just finding people that cover stuff, and like Greg there was just a random Twitter reach out a couple of years ago. Is how we got him. Not a Cuse guy. Obviously, I'll reach out to Cuse guys when I know them. Tim Leonard, Cuse guy. Let's see. Who have we had on this week? Are any of our guests this week Cuse guys? I think Eric Malinowski, who we got on tomorrow, the Colgate broadcaster, I think he went to Cuse. Let's look at my calendar from last month. Let's go to the last month. Who do we have on? David Hale, Cuse guy, though. Kark, Cuse guy. We had an Ishan, Cuse guy. We had Alyssa Murray on, Cuse gal. I'd say a decent but not overwhelming amount. Yeah, the people that are like, hey, I'm going to Venmo request the guy that didn't win a bet for me. Like, what? Though, can't you, set your Venmo to private or something? Anish? Yeah, we were the same year, Jen. I haven't known him for quite some time. Yeah, there's lots. It's handy when we can just, text Sean McDonough to get him to come on. Yes, that's how we identify Tronic. It's always a helpful tie to have to get somebody. Yeah. So, Bob, what'd you do with the bird bracket?
The bird bracket?
The world will never find the bird bracket. What's amazing is that if we had not lost the bird bracket, I'm not sure it would be over yet.
I
know. West Durham tomorrow, Kev, on the show.
Not a Cuse grad.
Not a Cuse grad.
I was going to say, I've had a lot of...
Wes, tomorrow I will have to have a Pepsi-Coke conversation with Wes. He will be able to properly describe that in the South
Atlanta,
soda is Coke.
You can even get... it's got to be Coke at the Tennessee football game, like you were saying.
Yeah.
I was going to say, since I've been booking Orange Nation, which normally Jordan does, but he's having a lovely vacation, hopefully, been using a lot of Cuse guys because
it's a great break glass in case of emergency booking technique.
And I feel Jordan's been doing it so long, he has contacts of other people.
You build them up, but when you're starting doing it and you haven't,
I'm just
like, who do I know?
Who's in my contacts? Oh, Cuse guy.
Exactly.
It's been a lot of my friends and former classmates.
Thank goodness they got jobs.
Ryan Higgins.
All right, back at it here on this Wednesday. That's the day of the week. Today is Wednesday. As we're rolling along, time for this.
Here's the 411.
Hello, and welcome to Movie Phone.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
In the 315.
So you're going to be doing that all week, right?
Nah.
What's going on is the 411 is brought to you by Superior Plus Propane. Tim is here.
I am Brian, and I saw an interesting article this morning. I don't know if you saw this. ESPN released their future college football rankings through 2026.
What?
So 2 years. But it's the future.
They rank... What? No, I did not see this.
You did not see this.
Do they rank every week?
So I'll give you the prompt, and then, I don't know, I'll put you to the test here and see if you can try and guess where Syracuse ranked here. This is all power conference teams. So 68 teams in the country. Teams will be evaluated in the following categories. This is just for the next 2 years in college football.
So is this where they're going to be at the end of 2026, or their total So they're accomplished. We're ranking based on the next 2 years of accomplishments. Okay.
Taking into account how good are you this upcoming year and the year after that.
Okay.
The teams will be evaluated in the following categories on returning quarterback, likelihood of a multi-year QB on roster.
Okay, that's good.
Offensive line, defensive line, outlook, roster management.
Okay.
Star power. In parentheses, All-Americans, National Award contenders, all-conference contenders.
Does the head coach star power count?
And coaching staff. So, yeah, kind of. What would you venture a guess that Syracuse ranked in this list of 68 power conference schools?
68 power conference schools. The fact that they have a chance of a 2-year quarterback, I think probably is big for this, would be my guess. What I did not hear on there is insanely tough schedule this year, so that could be useful. Head coach, people like Fran.
Yep.
But he's still new to it. I 38th.
Ooh, very good guess. 41 is where the Orange were. I started reading through this, and I was like, I wonder when they're going to pop up. Then I got very convinced that they were going to do the 44 Syracuse thing, and I thought that was going to be the number for some reason. They are 41, which puts them 8th in the ACC in terms of this ESPN weird ranking.
Was there a numerical system or just a vibes situation?
No, and I also thought it was weird.
Was there a blurb? Did they have a blurb?
Yeah, blurb for every team.
Okay.
So they kind of went through and, like, returning quarterback, they have a little comment, Kyle McCord's not back, blah, blah, blah. But then likelihood of multi-year QB on the roster, they acknowledged that both QBs...
Who was one, Ohio State?
Texas. With the Arch Manning show.
2 years, yeah, okay. I like how they both are doing mock drafts with Arch in the draft next year, even though everyone knows he's not going to be in next year's draft. And then for this, acknowledging that he'll be at Texas for 2 years.
Exactly. Because why would you leave? He's going to make bank, too, I would think.
His whole Peyton stayed 4 years. Eli was there, like... They don't need the money. They know the deal. They know the way to build a successful quarterback, which is why the Giants, if this whole thing doesn't work out, they don't need the number 1 pick next year. They need it the year after.
Save it for the year after, 2026.
You gotta angle this tank correctly for the 2027
draft.
2027,
yeah. Gosh, getting my years mixed up. Yeah, I think Ohio State was 2. The ACC rankings, if you care about that. So I said Syracuse was 8.
I assume Clemson was 1.
Clemson was leading the ACC. They were number 7.
They don't have a multi-year quarterback situation here.
They don't, but they do have a very good one for this year coming back in Cade Klubnik.
Yeah, that helps.
They also do have, I think, the number 1 recruiting class for this. Maybe it's not number 1, but it's very good.
They're doing well.
Yeah, they're Clemson. I'm sure they'll be fine.
Where's Florida State?
Florida State is 39, just 2 spots ahead of the Orange.
I don't know what to make, because how can you rank anyone? Like, I get their Florida State. They're rolling with Thomas Castellanos this year?
I don't get that.
Like Florida State chose their quarterback as the guy that lost the job at Boston College during a Syracuse game that they won?
Also, they tried to get Castellanos to be a running back in the past and did not see him as a quarterback. Then he went to UCF, where he's kind of reuniting with Gus Malzahn, who never really saw him as a quarterback at UCF, and then he went to BC.
I don't get it.
Yeah. So it's like Gus Malzahn is saying, I have to admit defeat. I was wrong about Thomas a couple years ago.
But that wrong?
And I was so wrong, in fact, that I think he's actually so good that not only should he have been a quarterback at UCF, he should be a quarterback at Florida State for me now.
Yes, to fix their 2-win season. Huh.
I know. I thought that was a really puzzling move.
Okay, so the ACC order. So Florida State's down there. So you got, obviously it's Clemson 1. Is Miami 2?
Miami is 2.
Okay, they also don't have a 2-year quarterback situation, but they have Carson Beck. Let's see, is SMU 3?
You're red hot. SMU is 3.
They might have, Jennings is a sophomore this year, right? He could.
I think so, yeah.
He potentially could start for 2. I think he might be a redshirt sophomore, so he could start for 1 or 2 more years. All right, let's Louisville 4.
Man, you are smoking hot. Okay. Did you see this article?
No, I did not see this article, but I have the
Louisville number 24.
I have the pulse of the league here. Now it gets tricky.
This might be tough. Yeah, if you want to keep guessing, I'll let you. But I can.
I want to keep guessing.
Okay.
The question is, what are they like? How much Belichick love are they going to give? Is the next question. Carolina 5.
All right, so you didn't read the article.
Okay, is it Georgia Tech 5?
Georgia Tech is 5.
Okay, yeah.
You already know 7. That's Florida State.
So
you already know 8. That's Syracuse.
All right. So is Carolina 6?
Carolina is not 6. They are actually number 10, and in the Syracuse number of 44 overall.
Oh, who have I forgotten?
NC State is 9, and think of another team in that area would be 6.
Duke?
Yes. I guess because that Mensa.
Does he have 2 years left?
I think he has multiple years, and
Duke.
He's good. Apparently.
Wow. So Syracuse is ahead of Belichick and Virginia Tech on the list.
Yeah, Virginia Tech 46, Pittsburgh 45, NC State 42. A lot of them jumbled up here. BC 47, then Virginia, Cal, Wake, Stanford. Stanford was dead last out of the power conference schools, 68.
No respect for the General Andrew Luck.
I know. So this, I don't know if we have a ton of time to flesh this out really, but this brings up another question that I was just talking about with David out there. If you did this poll for basketball,
oh dear,
which would be tougher because then there's 5 that you add the Big East into the conversation, I think, as a power conference team.
Yeah.
Syracuse football is 41 out of 68 right now in the power conference for the next 2 years, according to ESPN at least. Would basketball be a worse ranking?
Yes.
I think they would.
Yeah, I don't think it's a question.
Yeah. And then would they be worse in terms of ACC standings?
Yes.
Because 8th in the ACC is Syracuse?
Yep. Yeah. I don't think it's close.
What about next 5 years?
I mean,
it's impossible,
college
right?
sports, that's impossible to predict.
I can't imagine another time where we would have that hypothetical and say confidently, oh yeah, football is definitely.
Obviously that's very Fran Brown dependent.
Yeah,
that question, if you're telling me Fran Brown's going to be here in 5 years, then I think if you have to project 5 years from now, and the one guarantee I got is that Fran Brown is the coach for all those years, if that's the only thing you guaranteed me about either program over those 5 years, I think you have to project Syracuse football being ahead of Syracuse basketball over those 5 years.
Yeah. And I'm sure some people are listening and saying it'll be good when Autry's done after this year. They're convinced that's going to happen, and then like NC State has had a quick turnaround with Will Wade, and
that's
maybe
possible. But
yeah,
if you're telling me that, again, we don't know. If you're telling me I'm guaranteed Fran Brown for 5 years, or I don't know what's going to happen on the other side, I'll take the guarantee.
Yeah,
but again, the main problem is we're not guaranteed that either.
Yeah, because if Fran has another great year, what's to stop him from? I mean, he's going to be very wanted, you would think.
One would think.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's all interesting times, and you can't really project the future, but I just find it sort of wild that football definitely has a better outlook right now than basketball.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly, again, and then the football versus basketball thing is, even with the portal, quick turnarounds are possible in football. We just sort of saw it last year with McCord, but the football is still more of a battleship like an aircraft carrier compared to at least like basketball can go boom, boom, boom. Like
exactly.
You can turn it around quickly. I mean, you get the right few players in one class, you can turn it around. Who's to say, like, Syracuse could be in the tournament this year? Like, they could be.
Yeah.
You can turn it that quickly. Football though, if you keep the coach and if you keep the financial commitment, you can be more consistent over a longer period, I think, in this era.
Yeah. It's also just concerning because the ACC basketball conference is very blah after...
Very blah.
Yeah, very blah. Yeah. After UNC, Duke, Louisville, really, right now. And UNC even is not UNC at this point.
No, I mean, talking to our guest yesterday, Greg Barnes, like he was like that was not a rosy picture he was painting about North Carolina athletics right now, even though they are spending money and whatnot. All right, there we are. A look into the future.
Next 2 years. I don't know why they called it the future.
It's very far. It's the Conan,
very odd article.
Conan O'Brien bit in the year 2000 that he was still doing in like 2004. That was a great bit. All right, we'll take a break. We'll tell you what's on tap after this. Q Sports Talk, ESPN Radio.
Another thing I was going to say with that article that was very amusing to me is, so they all have their individual blurbs. Like, it's a very long article.
Right. That's 68 blurbs. Yeah. It's a lot of blurbs.
And at the top of every single blurb is what was their ranking in the previous version of the article, not ranked, as to say,
so
this is the first time they've done it. Yeah.
It's like this article is a template.
But yeah, like, why did we have to put that?
Watch them never do it again.
Yeah. And unless I'm going crazy, I think that's maybe I skimmed through it too much and just saw a couple not ranked. Yeah, it's like previous future power ranking, not ranked, not ranked, not ranked. Like, why are we wasting space doing it? But
see you, Tim. Tuna melts. Cavs having tuna melts. I'm having leftovers. What will still be left over?
Didn't you say Paulie had ham last night?
He said he was going to have ham. We didn't get a post ham.
He wasn't really jacked up like he normally is.
I think maybe he just had the thing is when you just have like a ham steak, it doesn't give him the same ham endorphins that like a full ham.
Yeah, he gets really excited.
Yeah, I mean, he was like after Easter, he was glowing for a week.
And he's not a guy that glows.
No. I mean, I'd never seen anything like it. Just imagining Paulie's at home right now guzzling Diet Pepsi in morning.
No haggling, no fake sales, no theatrics.
Yeah. Paulie's Hamdorphins after Easter were shocking. Is that actually a place, Batch and Louise? Ham that ham in lovely Batavia. Man, I spent like 3 days in Batavia once for a New York Penn League road trip. That's a lot of Batavia. That was a lot of Batavia. Did I go to the Downs? No, we were at like a hotel right off the thruway next to like a Bob Evans. We were not near anything. There was one like pizza shop that was in vague walking distance. We were not near anything. The power went out at the stadium one night for like half the stadium for the game.
All across CNY, it's the 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
All right, it's back to put the final wraps on things here on this midweek Wednesday.
Here's what's on tap tonight.
Hey, they're actually going to play some basketball again. How about that? And the series is dragging. It started a week ago. Finally getting around to a Game 3 series tied at 1 in the NBA Finals. Pacers and Thunder, 7:30 pregame coverage for that starts right here on ESPN Radio this evening. Yankees back in action tonight against the Royals. Again, that's a 7:40 first pitch. Coverage of that over on TK starts at 7 o'clock with Dave and Susan. What is on tap for the program tomorrow? I'm going to pretend that we booked this because of the Pepsi Coke change. Maybe we'd already booked it. We're going to have Wes Durham on the show tomorrow. Why? Why not? Yeah, we haven't talked to Wes in a while. We need to work some Wes in our lives. So we'll talk a little off-season college football with Wes. I guarantee you he will weigh in on our Pepsi Coke situation going on right now. We'll continue our 12 games in 12 weeks preview of Syracuse football. We'll reach the quarter pole of the season, talk about Colgate with their broadcaster, Eric Malinowski. Friday, we're going to talk to Syracuse soccer coach Ian McIntyre. Why? Why not? We like talking to Mac. There's the week. There's the rest of the week. Have a good night. Back here tomorrow, 4 o'clock, Q Sports Talk, ESPN Radio.
The 315 with Brian Higgins.